YouTube, how's it going? Frogs Angels is back, and MYCHAL KENDRICKS is the free agent we're talking about today. Not really a recent free agent, but somewhat. But it's a good time to discuss MYCHAL KENDRICKS. Some important news coming out about him. He narrowed down to 3 teams that he's visiting, as I learned just a little bit ago. And he's supposed to make his decision at the end of this week, is what he said. So, not going to waste your time with a lot of these teams, but some teams that I thought of maybe when he was announced free agent, back when he was released by the Eagles, which was surprising to me. So we'll go through these teams real quick until we get to the final 3 teams. The Rams, the Giants, and the Steelers. 3-4 teams. I did not expect if I had to put money on it, he wasn't going to end up on a 3-4 team. He's just a fit on a 4-3 team. I prefer weak side linebacker, but those 3-4 teams I thought could step in. Looking at the Steelers and the Rams, pretty similar. I think they're kind of short on linebackers, pretty desperate for linebackers for a contending team. The Rams did a good job in the draft, but for contending right now, you need something else other than Mark Barron in there. So, and the Giants are valuing the linebacker position more now when their former front office did not. So I thought maybe, but they're projected to run the 3-4. Team like the Saints, I thought it was a fit in that 4-3. I thought it was a good fit. I thought they're not weak at linebacker, but if I had to point out a weak spot maybe of their defense, maybe that's what it would be. And I like to fit the Saints, so I thought of the Saints when he was a free agent. Same with the Colts, a team that could have used pretty much anything, did draft pretty well on defense. A team like the Lions, similar to the Saints, similar reasons for the Saints, so I thought they could have used him. A team like the Bengals are up here because they were pretty thin at linebacker last year. That's mainly because of the injuries. They could use more help there, but younger guys could start to step up there and play better. A team like the Patriots made sense to me, next to Hightower and Van Noy, and it's just a place where players go just to turn their careers around. I mean, not that he's had a bad career at all. He's definitely worthy of a starting linebacker spot, and he didn't ask for his release, but he did ask to get traded in the past, is what I heard. So because he thinks he could fit a better role elsewhere and do more, reach his potential. So that makes sense. So I thought the Patriots made sense. I really thought they would go for him. A team like the Chargers, similar to what we talked about, the Lions and the Saints. A very good defense, better than those teams, but their weaker spot is at linebacker. They could use more help. I like Kendricks in that defense, so I'm surprised the Chargers weren't in the last 3 teams. A team like the Panthers is another very interesting one. Because of the Thomas Davis suspension, I thought he fit that position perfectly. That's one big reason they're in here. And obviously Thomas Davis is suspended. The Panthers are contending, so even though it's only 4 games matter. So, but obviously to them, it's not worth paying him when apparently he has a pretty good market. These last 3 teams are going to battle over him apparently. So the Panthers I thought was interesting. But these are the 3 teams right here that he is visiting with. He actually just got done with his visit in Minnesota. What is the date, in case we're watching this in the future, 5/29. So he got done with his visit in Minnesota, which his brother Eric Kendricks is one of the better players on that defense. That's very interesting. Next, he's going to Oakland, and then he's going to go visit with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the Vikings was a very interesting one just because he's going to play with his brother Eric Kendricks. It's a possibility, and from what I've heard, he would like that very much. You would think he would like that very much, but from interviews I just seen, he'd be very excited about that. So I thought if the Vikings put an offer out there, he wouldn't even leave and go elsewhere, because I figured he would take a little less money to play with his brother, and they need a weak side linebacker. That's something very interesting. They could use a weak side linebacker next to Kendricks and Barr, but then the thing with the Vikings is they start with the base 4-3, but then they'll end up switching to more of a 4-2-5, 5 defensive backs, the 2 linebackers, Kendricks and Barr. Does that change if they get a guy like MYCHAL KENDRICKS in there? Maybe his role stays the same or even gets nerfed a little bit, because the Vikings play with 2 linebackers, maybe more than the Patriots do it too. But I think the Patriots are trying to change that. There's a few teams that do it, but maybe the Vikings do it the most. So does that stick in his head? Does that stay with him? So maybe they did make an offer, but he's going to go test it elsewhere because of that. It's very interesting. The Raiders are next. The Raiders could use him easily. I think the Raiders are projected to run a 4-3. They have some players that fit more of a 3-4, so that's an interesting team, but I expect them to run a 4-3, like I said. So the Raiders could definitely use him. They may pay the most out of these teams. But then we have the Browns. The Browns have they run a 4-3, obviously, and they have a pretty good starting linebacker unit. Collins, Schobert, and Kirksey, really all solid, so they don't really need him. He can compete for a starting role if they want to do some kind of sub package, some kind of rotation going on. That makes sense. But at this point, what I see here is they have a ridiculous amount of cap space, well over $60 million, I think, if I remember correctly, somewhere around $70 million, which is insane at this point of the season, or offseason, I should say. And MYCHAL Kendricks being a free agent at this point of the offseason is pretty ridiculous too. So the Browns like, we got this money sitting here. Why not get a guy that does have some potential to go to another team that could actually be better? And I mean, he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, big part of that defense. Obviously not the biggest part of that defense. There's much better players on that defense that were more of a factor, but he started on that defense, played pretty well on that defense. So that's the Browns' views. But I'll take the Browns off first because what I said, they have 3 starting linebackers already that are very solid. It's kind of weird that the Raiders and the Vikings are more needing of him than the Browns are. I think that's kind of interesting. I guess, well, the Vikings have the number 1 defense without him, so I guess you shouldn't say that they need him. But Ben Gideon started at weak side, who was actually pretty impressive for a mid-round rookie. But they could use him, and I think that would give him more flexibility to have Anthony Barr rush the passer, which was interesting because Anthony Barr was originally a 3-4 outside linebacker in college. People thought actually would be more likely to play DN than where he plays on the Vikings, so he could rush the passer is what my point is. And when he does with the limited amount of attempts, it works out pretty good for the Vikings and Mike Zimmer's defense. So that is very interesting to me. But leaving without a deal there, they didn't make a deal yet. Does it get him scared that they use 2 linebackers a lot? I wanted to go with the Vikings because of the Eric Kendricks thing, but I think the Raiders give him more money and give him more a guaranteed spot, guaranteed role, more a role, I should say, more snaps, more opportunities. But I keep going back. I keep going back that he wants to play with his brother. That would be ridiculous. He said his brother is his best friend, which isn't shocking or anything, but I mean, it's tough. I'll leave this one up to you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, add the Browns back because these are the 3 teams here. You could go to any one of these 3, but I want to know what you guys think. I had the Raiders there, and I was going with the Raiders because I think they'll give him more money and it's a bigger role, but he's got to want to play with his brother and win another Super Bowl. That would be interesting. That's got to be in his mind to go with the Vikings, and he knows he can compete against the Eagles. He's going to play the Eagles at least once this year, and he wants to. He's going to want to beat them. So, very interesting. Really, I'm going the Raiders for the reason for more opportunity. The Vikings to play with his brother, and don't leave out the Browns. So I want to know what you guys think. I guess you could say I picked the Raiders, but I can't really make a decision there. It's very, very tough. So let me know what you guys think. We should know where Kendricks is going by the end of the week. I think he can be a starting linebacker on any of these teams. That's why the Browns is very interesting. We will see. But plenty of NFL, really sports coverage in general. We got more NBA content planned. Pretty wild playoffs leading up to the finals. And we got the NBA draft coming up, which is... which you know how much I like the draft, so any type of draft. So we'll keep you covered here. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. That'll do it. Goodbye.